Hello, welcome, and thank you all of you who have logged into our webinar, How to Prepare Your Students for New Testing Accommodations. I'm Karen Bess, and I work for Don Johnston in the marketing department. And Darren Avey is going to be giving this webinar. He's an assistive technology specialist. He's going to share the programs he has recently implemented in 32 Texas schools to prepare his students for testing accommodation changes. He will include interesting stories about what worked and what didn't work. Darren's a presenter and consultant in assistive technology. Over the past 20 years, Darren has worked in the Texas area schools and education service centers in a variety of roles, including resource content mastery teacher, technology manager, and since 2005, he took over all special education technology in Tyler, which is, as I said earlier, 32 schools. Darren, I really appreciate you for presenting on this important topic, but before I turn it over to you, I have two quick announcements, and I'll be running a poll for Darren, and then we'll let him loose. The announcements are that you will be muted as soon as you enter the webinar, but we do encourage your participation, and we really want to hear from you. So please use the questions panel. I'll be looking at that while Darren's giving the presentation, and he'll stop a couple times during the presentation to answer your questions. Also, a lot of people wonder if they're going to be receiving a recording afterwards, and yes, you will be. We'll send it to you via email, assuming we don't have any technical difficulties. Everything seems to be going really good so far. And you'll also get a PDF of the presentation. You'll get that via email in a few days. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out. We're going to launch a poll, and just give me 1 second to get that up. All right. Can everybody see the poll? Okay, good. So go ahead and log your answer there. Okay, Darren, I just unmuted you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see the poll, Darren?
Yes, I have it.
Excellent. Great. Okay, so the poll's in progress. The question for the poll, I'll just read it out loud here. What testing accommodations do you plan to implement in your district this year? And there are multiple answers allowed. We've got about 73% of our participants have voted. This is a very big webinar. I guess this is very big. We've got a lot of Texas people here, which is wonderful. Okay, about 76% so far have voted. So we've got about a quarter of you guys who haven't voted yet. I'll wait, give you another, okay, now we're up to 80%, 82%, great. Okay, I'll give you another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and share it so everybody can see it. Can everybody see that? Okay. Now, we should all be looking at Darren's screen now. Okay, and introducing
no pressure.
Darren Avey. Okay, let me close the poll, Darren, so we can see the rest of your screen there.
Yeah, you see it?
Yep. Okay, I'm sorry, Darren, did you see the percentages? It was...
Yes.
You did see them? Okay, great.
Yes, sir. If anybody has audio difficulties, just kind of let us know through the chat, and we'll do our best. We had some problems last time. It looks like we're working this time. I'm handicapped this time. I'll let everyone know. I am tied to a microphone on a computer, so I cannot pace. So
Uh-oh.
If I'm distracted, it's because I can't pace through my house. I'm just letting y'all know. It is part of my method, and I cannot do that right now. So I may pick up this little laptop and walk around.
I think you can do it.
I probably can.
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to let everybody know. Thank y'all for being here. Karen, how many people do we have not from Texas?
I don't have the list in front of me right now. I know we had 97 people signing up for this webinar.
So there's probably a couple not from Texas at least.
There might be a couple not from Texas, but the people that we invited were 99% from Texas people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who are not from Texas, I'm sorry. And, 'cause, we are the best state. We just have to put that out there for everyone to know.
And just FYI, I'm not from Texas.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
See, we excuse you, Karen. It's okay.
Okay, okay.
There's people chatting right now agreeing with me wholeheartedly.
I'm an honorary Texas person.
That's right. You're an honorary. All right. I wanted to talk to you today, and we're going to talk about a lot of the different testing accommodations. And since the last webinar, I actually have a little more information than I did the last time, which is kind of nice. There are a lot more accommodations being allowed. There's still a few things that are up in the air, so I want to kind of make sure we go over as many as we can. Hopefully everyone knows. I saw there were several people mentioning text readers for this year's test. I'm assuming that means, but it may not be true. Text-to-speech will be included in the 4th grade reading and math, 7th and 8th grade science and social studies tests on the computer-based assessment. So since those students this year will be only computer tested, that feature will be built into the test for those kids. So there won't be oral administration for those kids in those particular testing areas.
Darren, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you click the Show My Screen button on your computer?
I am so sorry. Let's see here. Show my screen.
There's a little button with a triangle in it. On the left,
sorry.
on the top. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
You got it?
We got it. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to mute myself now.
Sorry, y'all. All right. Sorry, y'all. A tech geek made a mistake. But there's a lot of accommodations, and the text-to-speech is one of the main ones. I have seen it. They just showed it to me today. I know probably most of you know that you can go to TEA's website and see those things. I'll try to pull up that link in a little bit and just let you see it. I've got it saved on my web browser here in a little bit. That is one big one, so we won't need oral testers anymore, and of course that should obviously make it more valid and better for our kids, because if a child wants, if you got a group of 5 kids and you're reading to all of them, it's kind of difficult to read to every child as many times as you need him to read a question. One child might be on answer 3 or question 3, another child might be on question 6, and the 2 kids may need completely different types of help when you're reading to them. So not to mention it's virtually impossible for us to not give away some clue to answers and things on tests when we're reading to them. It's human nature. Nobody's trying to do it, but it is possible. So oral testing is a big one this year. This is the pilot year. Like I say, 4th grade reading and math, and then 7th and 8th grade science and social studies are being tested, and with that built-in feature into the web browser testing. And then, of course, we have our writing accommodations and other things as well. And I'm trying to get my PowerPoint to change pages, and it is not. There you go. Okay. And we all know that previously we all tried to get testing accommodations put through the state for STAR testing, a lot of different things. We had word prediction, we were looking at word prediction, voice recognition, a lot of different, even highlighting, note-taking, a lot of different things that were previously we had to do accommodations request forms, and of course, we really don't have to do those unless it's some way obscure situation for a student, which there won't be too many. A lot of those tools are available now for the kids, so we don't have to do a testing accommodation. Most of you know this, and again, I'm just going to keep saying that a lot because I want to make sure everybody gets all the information. If you want to use an accommodation on the test, generally you need to use the child's 504 meeting or their IEP meeting or ARD meeting, as we put it in Texas, to state what accommodation they need on the test. If you've already got oral testing down, you don't need to go back and say they're going to use text-to-speech. Oral testing is oral testing. They've made it statewide in Texas, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's still being orally tested. They're just using a computer to do it. Again, I'll show you that feature in a little while. Same thing with word prediction, or if you're using some other spelling assistance that they call it on testing accommodations, just make sure it's in their 504 or hard meeting and make sure you've documented why and that they are using it. Because they, if we do get audited and they come in and submit, I've got 10 kids using word prediction and they come in and they have no writing samples, no evidence that they're using it, then, in TEA's eyes, you've violated the student's rights because you didn't give him a chance to use it before the test. So that makes a lot of sense. You're trying to make sure the child has used it long enough to where he's got his best possible chance of succeeding on our testing, which is great. Karen, I'm rattling on. Are there any questions initially as we're going?
Actually, yes.
I know you can't answer me.
I have somebody who's in, WA is Washington, right? I know
Okay.
that. She's in Washington, and she's wondering if this could be true.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I know that's a really stupid question. If she's true, would this be true in her districts in Washington as well? Do you know?
With the testing accommodations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which part? She's going to have to clarify. Now, every state, of course, is different, but you should all have a testing panel for your state. I can't promise you that our testing, everything is the same as in Washington, unfortunately. I wish that way, but quite honestly, across districts in Texas, I can't begin to promise you that the same thing goes on in every district in Texas for every, every
Okay,
kind of
Michelle,
So
maybe if you could.
I would say make sure check with your state testers.
Okay, and Michelle, maybe if you could let me know if you are a Common Core state, if you're under Park or Smarter Balanced, and then I can find out from Ruth, because I know she's very knowledgeable about those different testings and what accommodations are available for those, and let me know about that. Okay? Oh, and then we have another question. Oh, we have a couple more questions here. Did you say fourth reading, math, and other grade level science and social studies are only going to be administered via online?
This year, the oral testing, text-to-speech, is being tested in fourth grade reading and math and seventh grade studies. So this year, only those kids. They would still most likely need to come up with other accommodations, probably normal oral testing for the other students this year, because they don't want you to use something like read out loud test. In Texas, they do have a feature built into the test nav, which is our testing software.
Okay.
And as perfected this year, the next year, it should be everywhere. Like all kids are going to be online tested, supposedly.
Okay. Okay, great. And then Blair asked if the presentation is going to be available to review later, and yes, everybody who signed up for the webinar will be receiving an email within a few days of the webinar with a recording and also with PDFs of the slides. And then another person just let me know that Washington is a Smarter Balanced state, and so that's an answer. I can find the answer for that about what the testing accommodations are for Washington now that I know it's Smarter Balanced. Okay? And that's it. That's all we got so far.
Okay, that's fine. All right. That's fine. I just want to make sure we didn't, because sometimes people need to clarify with the questions. All right. Moving forward with the testing accommodations, I do want to go ahead and show quick and go to my web browsers really quickly. This is, and I don't know if I'll try to put this in something to you, Ruth, for the Texas people. I'm on the TEA website, and I'm on the standardized oral administration page, but I can send a link. There is a student tutorial that you can let your kids see. I don't think our testing coordinator really is not worried about our upper grade students. The middle school kids and the high school kids, they've kind of gotten technology under wraps, but if you had a fourth grader, they might not quite be as techy, possibly, with regard to using text-to-speech. So we're trying to make sure our kids are using it and using it as much as possible for library books, for everything. But on the TEA website, there is actually a student tutorial that I'm clicking on right now, and it'll let you see kind of how the test works. It's really actually pretty neat. I was very impressed with the way they have it set up. We're having a little issue, and I'll show you how we've resolved it in getting our tests to run quite the same. But Okay, and it just has to load up because, it's, like I said, it's all computer-based. It's actually a pretty nice setup. Today. All right, just a demo, kind of a training, but as you go through it, you'll see there's a text-to-speech box at the top right, and I'm just clicking next at the bottom right. And then I'm going to continue, and then I'm just going to go to the reading when anything past this. But of course, it's a reading test, and this has been asked many times, and I understand the confusion. It is a fourth grade reading test, and next year when we don't have a star M,
Darren, I'm sorry to be so rudely interrupting you, but I still see
no, not at all.
I still see the testing accommodations slide.
Ooh, how do
There we go. Okay, I see it now. The lady who loved the land. Okay. Is that it? Great.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yes, it must be a delay. All right. This is. I'll make sure we have a link to that website so everybody can get there, because it's not blocked or anything. Everybody can get there because this is just a demo for your kids. But this is basically the reading fourth grade assessment. Now, science and social studies and seminary, you can read everyone's test because it's not a reading test. But I would expect if I'm going to test a fourth grade reading, then even though I know some of our kids may not read the best at grade level or star M or whatever, it's not going to read the reading part to them. It's only going to read the questions, so I'm just going to click on next. And then you'll see the questions to, oops, what happened? To the right here. Let's see, and I'm sure you'll hear this. Let's see.
Hey, Darren, I think we lost you. Darren? Darren? Is it possible to change your audio from computer to telephone?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. For some reason, your audio's really bad right now.
Okay. All right. It's out. Muted. It's really bad.
Yeah, the text
Sorry.
the text to speech isn't coming through from the audio for some reason. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Can you get it, please?
Hello? Darren?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you. It's breaking
Hello?
up a little bit, but yes, I can hear you. Somehow that was interfering with the audio, I think so.
Is the audio better?
Yes, it's good
Sorry.
now. Yep. Okay, you're back.
Okay. All right. I think the singing program was probably interfering with our bandwidth. Sorry.
I think it was, because when you're in the
Could
PowerPoint,
everyone,
you're great.
Can you, Yeah, it must have been. It is an online test, and of course, it's doing everything through the browser with text-to-speech, so it may be a little bit,
I think that's it.
maybe
Yeah.
a problem. Sorry. Okay. Could everyone at least see it, or could you at least see
Yes.
it, Karen?
Yes. I think everybody could see it, but they couldn't hear the text
Okay.
reader. So maybe if you could describe that.
Okay.
And couldn't hear what you said when you
All right.
were showing it.
Yeah, the text. Yeah, I'll make sure. The
Okay.
text reader actually sounds just like most of the apps everyone uses, Read Out Loud and any of the other normal text-to-speech programs. They did not spend any extra money on, you know, special voices or anything like that. This is the basic stuff. It does allow you, hopefully you saw, and I'll make sure you have the link in the handouts, everyone, because it is very, you could probably look up TEA star standardized oral assessment and probably get a web page to that. But speech is really good, or it'll allow them just to click certain things. I tried to show that, but I know you probably couldn't hear me. So it's actually very versatile considering it's a web-based tool that the state's put together for a test. I mean, I think that's, if they were going to wait this long, not to be too critical, if they were going to wait almost 20 years to get text-to-speech out there to the kids, then I think they've done a really good job as best they could do. So I think that looks really good for our kids this year in those grades, and then next year everywhere, because I know we're going to have even more kids as we go tested. And just don't let everybody forget, I know a lot of you are probably with the special education departments, but just don't let your districts forget your 504 kids. I know your testing coordinators probably know, at least at the district level, but individual campus testing coordinators, I doubt mine know yet at 32 campuses, and I'm going to try to get the word out to them. And, you know, your resource teachers, your special ed teachers, whatever teachers you have that serve these kids, could take 10 minutes and let the kids see this, because you know, at an elementary level, that, you know, kids might need to play with it for a couple of times before, especially, and even middle school, just to see it, because they might not know every feature of it, because it is a really nice feature for our kids. And that's, you know, this is one that I was actually not expecting to come out as soon as it did, even though the technology's been around a while. The testing security is kind of hard to get around when you're doing anything like that. And that's kind of where I was going before all the technology glitches. If we're going to test the kids with text-to-speech, then our district, and I think most of you probably want the kids to have been using text-to-speech for different things. So I know a lot of you have used these in small scales with kids. There's a lot of resources out there for kids to read books themselves and read tests themselves. If you have a product like Solo that has Read Out Loud, Write Out Loud, all those features built into it, you could obviously open different sorts of books or even type books into Write Out Loud for kids to read back. Or instead of using a standardized program like Word, you could use Write Out Loud or copy and paste a test from Word into Write Out Loud so that kids could read in their classrooms and take tests that way, so we can prepare them to get started with the different parts of the tests. Now, one of the things we're doing is together, our district has a system called Aware, and it's basically some sort of a test bank that has, you know, some ways we can create some tests for the district and banks of questions and things, and I'm sure other districts have the same kind of thing, if not the same program. Or you're creating your own district benchmarks, because this year, and hopefully we're not testing too much more than that, my district is scaled way back, we have to have a couple of district benchmarks before we do the real STAR testing. And we're developing those on our own, and because we need to have that text-to-speech to get the kids ready, the PDFs that are created from those, I've got a few of them on my computer, and I'm going to open my Read Out Loud so that you can see it's not perfect because it wasn't designed specifically for this. But if we take one of those district PDFs, we've made sure that they're accessible, and we can actually turn them into Read Out Loud to read them for the kids. So if I just go into Read Out Loud and then click the red E, then I can go to, this is one of ours that's been pre-modified for math. And of course it's one of our guys who did this. He tried to put one question on a page. The biggest function that I've seen that Read Out Loud can provide and a text-to-speech program like this can provide is it will read the test, but the student's kind of having to use his mouse to keep it over the speech. If you stop the speech and start the speech. Karen, can you all hear the text-to-speech, or is it just me?
No, I can hear you now. There was a pause, though, where I didn't hear you. I do have a couple questions.
Okay. Can y'all hear the text-to-speech?
No.
Okay. Of course not. Okay. All right. Well, you get the idea. Go ahead. Questions, please.
Okay. Someone said, what did you use to create the accessible PDF? Darren? Are you there?
Hello?
There we
Can you hear
go.
me?
Okay, yes.
Sorry. I tried to stand up and I pulled my mic out. Okay. Yes, I know. I'm that smart. Okay. Yes, most of you, if you're creating tests like this with Adobe Acrobat Pro or something like that, Adobe Acrobat Professional actually has a function that will automatically make a PDF accessible. So it scans the text, finds all the text, and makes it accessible. Now, we were finding a few issues with that, so it might also be, possibly you might have to copy it into Word, make some additions, and then create a PDF afterwards. I mean, there is a little technical behind this, but when you're talking about doing it for a mass group of kids, I mean, I would think your district probably has some people that they can use for this kind of thing, or they might want to think about it. We've got a guy who works for our testing department who's kind of been working on this, because in our 32 schools, we're probably, we could be orally administering to 500. I don't know. I don't even have a clue. I know there's a lab. According to our testing coordinator, we've got a good computer lab's worth of students to oral test at every campus, at least one computer lab worth of kids, and that's 32 campuses, so we're looking at 300, that's actually a lot more than I thought, because that's 25 per campus times 30 campuses, that's 750 to 1,000 kids that have oral administration.
Wow.
So that, that's, this is one of those things, and that's because we have to look at, it's not just our special ed kids. We have a fraction of kids in special ed compared to 504, and there's 504 kids can have the same accommodations. And that's, nationwide, they are supposed to be offered those same accommodations. With the text-to-speech here, there are some things that need to be tweaked. I've got a guy who did that in our district, and I can actually have him put together what he did to help tweak it. Read Out Loud right now has one reading mode, and it just basically reads. And so sometimes it's necessary to have some pauses with the answers and things, or the students have to stop and start a lot with the speech, which they can do. But it's a good tool to use to try to work with kids on the testing, because, in our district it's everywhere. We licensed Solo for all of 32 campuses, and that means we can use it on any computer in the school, teachers, kids, everybody, and I can send a copy of this home with every student in the district. So not just special ed kids, but everyone. So that's a pretty powerful tool. And since we have it, we also have a built-in text reader for textbooks. So, I mean, this is a one way either create tests in here, or you could even use Write Out Loud and just type your tests in there if you have to retype them even. Either way, it's a good choice. I know a lot of you have heard of Bookshare, the book depository for Texas now for textbooks. I'm going to run it, hopefully not going to have any issues. So,
can I ask you a quick question, Darren?
Bookshare lets us. Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you. A couple of people are asking about the TEA website. There was a link that you had talked about on that website, and they're wondering where you would find that.
Yes.
That was earlier on in your presentation.
I will take back real quick. Just 1 second. I will send it. It is going to be the one that's the student tutorial. I'm going to send the main link on the chat board here, and then it is the SOA student tutorial. That'll put it at least on your chat bar so y'all can look at it. I wouldn't launch it right now because obviously it was affecting our bandwidth.
Okay.
That is the testing accommodations page.
I have a couple other questions, if you are willing to answer them.
All right.
Okay. So somebody asked.
I'm willing.
Okay, great. So should a test be created in Word and saved to a PDF after the test?
It would probably be easier because in Word you can do all of your graphics and everything, and then you can save it to a PDF afterwards, and it should keep the accessibility as far as the text should be text and pictures should be pictures. Mm-hmm. Our testing program that creates our tests, and this may be your problem in other districts, Aware is part of our Eduphoria system, I believe, and it's a program that a lot of districts use. It auto-generates PDFs as a part of the way it's set up, and so we're having to copy out of that into Word, make some edits, and then take it back to a PDF format in order to get one that works quite right, because it wasn't. They didn't foresee this at the time when they were creating that program. Now there is probably some tweaks we can do and have the people creating the tests out of Aware fix that. But if a district was just creating them on their own completely, I would say yes, probably it would be easier to create them in Word and then save a PDF from that Word document. I'm just guessing, but I would think it would be much easier to do that because you have all the capabilities in Word. It's not my favorite program, but it does. I mean, it is. Everyone does have it. So,
Darren, you sent the link to organizers and panelists only. If you could resend it to all entire audience, I can't seem to be able to forward it with this functionality.
How do I swap it? Oh, I see it. I see it.
You see it?
I see it. I see it.
Yeah, then everybody will have it.
Webinar. Well, it doesn't. I don't have that option. I have organizers only, organizers and panelists only.
Yeah, the top one, all entire audience.
There's no. I don't have that option.
Ah, okay. I'll just retype it in here and send it to everybody then. Okay, sorry.
Sorry. It's okay. That's
just hang on a second, everyone. I'll get it to you.
Yeah, and I'll put it back in the PowerPoint that she's going to send y'all as well.
Okay.
I'll add it to the PowerPoint, so that way you'll have it there too.
Okay.
So the test, yes, for the Word documents. Was there another question, Karen? I know they're asking about
yes. Okay, just one person noted that Texas identifies more students than other states for 504s. And then somebody else asked, will any text reader read your TTS PDF files?
Not all of them will, no. Most of the major ones will. Most of the major products that people would know, the Kurzweils, the Wins, the Read Out Louds, they will. I don't think, not everyone will. There are some that are, there are some free ones that will. Word Talk actually reads Word documents, and it's out of England. It actually reads Word documents by itself, and it's a free kind of a toolbar or something that you can get for Word. They would actually mentioning that on a TEA webinar the other day, talking about accommodations. I think it was actually a Region 13 out of Austin webinar. So I know you can get those online. It's a Region 13 webinar for testing accommodations from, I believe it was last week, but there was an accommodation called Word Talk to Try. And I've used it. It works pretty well. It's not bad at all. But you would then have to have your tests in Word format, no matter what. And again, a lot of people get their state tests that they try with the kids from the state, which come as PDF. So, and hopefully maybe, between now and next year, we can keep bringing things to people's attention at our region service centers. If you are a Texas user, and I know not everyone is, in Texas we have education service centers. If you come up with a problem, such as, hey, we need an easy way to create tests for benchmarks for our kids, send these kinds of questions to your service centers. Region 4 is our main hub for this kind of thing, and they keep in contact with TEA pretty closely to try to come up with and help them come up with the solutions and things like that. But, any of your people at your service centers could help. Anybody for testing, your assistive technology people, all those would be great resources for you to make sure you put those questions to them, because they have a direct line to TEA that we don't really have, especially if they can say 50 people talk to me about this is a problem. So, and that does help.
Okay.
Because I know right now there's some other issues that we're trying to get solved before the testing time too. Now, that is just, I want to get off of reading. I know that's there, and of course that's a big one. But let me go into spelling assistance, because that's our word prediction. This has been around for a lot longer. Last year, these were the kids we really wanted to try to work with, because our writing assessments were the first to really have a lot of accommodations. Excuse me. So word prediction, your voice recognition, all those kinds of things. Again, this year, for those of you who didn't know, no ARFs. We already said all this. No accommodations requests to say that we want to have all these different kids take the tests. That's, a thing of the past. They won't be denying anyone. If you're audited, just make sure you have it in their paperwork somewhere of some kind that says they're going to use it, and make sure you keep work samples or something that shows what they've been using with whatever spelling assistance you're using. I have kids using iPads. I have kids using desktop computers with Solo, Co-Writer Solo everywhere, because it's simple. The iPad and iPhone even and iPod versions of Co-Writer are great. Word prediction. There's other apps that do the same thing for the different tablets and things. Right now, for those of you who didn't know, and I've got 3 or 4 kids who use it religiously and are amazing on it. They have Co-Writer and word prediction apps on iPads. It's so easy. I'm not trying to product name. I'm not sold on an iPad above an Android or a Surface tablet. Right now, we just have, we have iPads in our district, and so I can speak to those a little bit more than Android tablets and things. But the kids are really good with them. They work really well. And as of yesterday, iPads are, they're being nixed this year for testing. And so far, I don't know that won't change. The state is worried about the accessibility to the internet and the accessibility to the camera. I think for multiple reasons, but there's always been an issue with the internet. The camera, I think, is so that somebody doesn't take a picture of the test and void security there. We have informed them, several of the assistive technology people, including the ones at Region 4. I was at Region 4 recently, and they have been informed of guided access on iPads and how that can lock kids in apps like Co-Writer, so that they can't get to the internet and they can't get to the camera, on top of the fact that you could disable those features. But they have been informed of that. Right now, it's not looking great for using those types of things on the test this year. So that you do need to be prepared to use some other form of word prediction or voice recognition if you can, because I had actually other kids using voice recognition on iPads as well, and it's really easy to use, and the kids like it, and I'm probably going to have to make sure that I have another alternative that's working well before the test time, because right now they're saying no iPads. So I'm just letting y'all know that that's happening. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. We've talked about most of this already, but I do want to go a little bit more of that for the writing, especially, and reading, even as just as much and maybe more so. You need to really make sure the kids are using this all the time, because they need to be as proficient as possible. So they probably need to have access to it in their gen ed class if they're going to be doing a lot of writing in there, as far as especially creative writing or sentences. Same thing, in other environments if they possibly can. Even at home, if you can provide that at home, it's great, because they might have homework. And I've learned that the best way to get a kid to use many of these technologies is to give them something they want to do as opposed to something you want to do. So incorporating word prediction or things like co-writer along with Facebook, instant messaging, pen pals through email, the internet, any kind of application you can have, because most word prediction programs like co-writer can run alongside of any program. So it doesn't just have to be Microsoft Word with a writing prompt that they don't want to do. So they could easily be writing a love note to their girlfriend, or Valentine's to mom and dad, or whatever. That's something they might want to do a little bit more. Karen, there was another poll, and I know we've talked about it, but we probably should do that.
All right, sure. I've got a couple questions before the poll.
Yes.
While that's still fresh in your mind. How can students use predictive text on the 4th grade writing?
How can they use it on 4th grade writing? Well, basically, you have to use whatever program you have available in your district. They can use on a desktop. Right now, they can use it on, for sure, a desktop computer, and they do have to be, you need to disconnect the internet from it. They would prefer you, literally disconnect the access to the internet, pull the cable out of the back, if possible. And then after they're finished writing their writing assignment on that computer, with whether it be co-writer in Microsoft Word or co-writer in WordPad or whatever, probably WordPad because it doesn't have spell check. But after they're finished, then you have to transcribe exactly what they wrote. Yes, it's a brilliant thing that we have to do. You have to transcribe what they wrote onto the writing form. Unless they change that before the test, you use the word prediction, whatever program you have, to use the predictive text on a computer, and then you transcribe that to the writing form after they're finished.
Okay. Okay, and then I have another one that's a 2-part question.
Okay.
The first part is, it says, I have a student using a Maestro at an early college high school. He uses Series 5 Interact, which includes word prediction. Will he be able to use it for the 9th grade STAAR reading and writing? That's the first part. And then the second part is, if he can use it, do I have to list word prediction as an accommodation on his test page?
If he's, okay, I can answer the second part easily. If he's using word prediction to write during the test, yes, no matter what.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's nonverbal. Is he going to answer through typing A, B, C, D, or E, or is he going to say A, or can he bubble the sheet in himself? I'm asking 3 questions, so sorry. Can he bubble in himself first?
Well, let me see. I'll hear back from her and let you know on that.
Okay.
Maybe I can ask you this other question in the meantime.
All right.
Okay, she says, I have a student with a severe speech impediment, and she can't use speech-to-text like Dragon dictation for spelling assistance. I'm not sure what the question is.
And I'm assuming they can't use word prediction very well.
Assuming, yeah. I think that's...
I'm going to have to assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could clarify what the question is on that one.
I can say this on that. I would check into delayed auditory feedback for stuttering. One possible thing is called a speech-easy. It's an anti-stuttering device because honestly, you're going to improve that child's life by helping him with the stuttering first.
Okay.
I can't really help you with voice recognition, obviously, but you can help him with the stuttering possibly with an anti-stuttering device, and the state will pay for it if you can prove that it will help him. The state in Texas, STAT funding will pay for an anti-stuttering device.
Okay, great. Okay, I did hear back from the two-part question with the Maestro. She said Maestro is a VOD, and then she said nonverbal. I was thinking about open-ended questions and essays. And do you want me to read that question again? Okay. She said
No, I've got it. I was just not sure if with the Maestro, I wasn't sure. I'm assuming that open-ended questions and essays. So it's mostly the writing. Yes, you're going to state the word prediction. I would probably call the TEA, testing accommodations people, and get a written okay for the Maestro. It shouldn't be a problem. It doesn't sound, there's really nothing on the Maestro that's going to be a huge, you can turn the Wi-Fi off and there's nothing on there that should be a huge testing problem. You honestly could probably call it, there are accommodations for oral answers. Hold on one second. Sorry, a salesman came to my door and he won't go away. Okay, sorry, y'all.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, one more question real quick, and then we'll do the poll.
Okay.
When you do you mean copy and paste when you say transcribe?
No.
Okay.
You have to literally. No. Yeah, that would, ladies and gentlemen, it would make sense to be able to go to file and print, but we can't do that. We have to literally write exactly what they wrote, word for word, punctuation mark for punctuation mark on the testing form.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Right now, as far as I know, there is no way. And if you last year when we were able to use iPads for sure, we could not print from the iPads. We had to transcribe exactly what was on the iPad or iPod or whatever to a form.
Okay. All right. Ready to launch the poll?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. All righty. Here's the poll. It's in progress. Go ahead and vote. You can vote as many times as you want in as many different areas. I'll read the question. Question is, how do you think the use of text-to-speech in place of human oral testing administrators will affect testing? So go ahead and answer the poll. We'd love to hear what you say, what you think. Oh, all three are neck and neck right now. So, okay, we got a couple that are going ahead. All right, we've got about 60% of you have voted. So let's try and get that up closer to 80%. And then when that happens, then I'll close the poll and we can see the results. See what y'all think. So we're getting close, 76%. Okay, I'm going to give you the 5-second warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get your votes in really fast because I'm closing the poll. Okay. All right. And I'll share it. Can you see that, Darren?
I'm trying to. Where's it at? There it goes.
Okay.
No, it's not. Shoot, why can't I?
You see it? We've got 35% saying it will reduce staff needed during testing. 28% say it will increase student independence. 25% say it will reduce testing inconsistencies. And then 73% say all of the above.
Okay.
And then we've got someone answered it in the questions panel. They said it may cause some errors based on how text-to-speech software pronounces and mispronounces some words. And someone said,
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah, there's another one that's kind of like that too. And
The thing I think we all have to go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, someone brought up a really good point about PAR. I don't know if you guys are familiar with PAR. It's a free download off of our website, and it actually provides a formal means of determining if oral or TTS is the best accommodation for a student. And we have
Is it on the
videos.
TEA website?
No, this is on the Don Johnston website. You
Oh,
can go
really?
on there. Yeah, and you can download PAR, and there's a video that shows you how to administer it, and it's real consistent.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Can
So
we include that in the handout?
yeah, I'll put the link on the chat.
Cool. Awesome.
And yeah, we can put that in the handout too, because that would be kind of a neat way to. It's consistent, across the board, regardless of who's administering it and stuff too. So that helps.
Cool.
So, okay, let me hide the poll so we can go back to your screen there. Can you just show your screen again? There we go. Good, good, good. I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay. There are, I'm trying to think here. I think those are all good points on as far as those. All those answers were obviously correct with the text-to-speech. I think there's always. I think we do have to remember. I know there are words that will be mispronounced, and there will be some problems with it. I think they're probably, when you look at it long term, and for the majority of the kids, just try to think about it from the point of view of a child. Most of the kids hate being pulled out and singled out, no matter what. If they're in a lab with 25 other kids, all at a computer doing exactly the same thing they're doing, and they get to do it at their own pace. And yeah, there's going to be, a percentage of the kids that don't care about the test, a percentage of kids that still it can't help, but then there's going to be a large percentage that are actually being helped by these accommodations, especially the fact that they're not feeling stupid during a test that the schools put a huge amount of pressure on the students for. So, I think this is a huge step, having the text-to-speech. And make sure, we've already talked about having, especially writing available to the kids as far as word prediction, but the books as well. I don't think I have much time to go back to the Bookshare site, but Bookshare, if you set your kids up in that site, they can get any books they want. If they have an Android phone or an iPhone or an iPad or an iPod available, there's an app that will read the books to them and let them get books in seconds. And as a teacher, you can, help them get books off the side and put them on student computers with thumb drives or whatever, or a CD, or however y'all have to get books to them. So it's a really easy resource to read everything from an Arthur book at elementary level to Harry Potter's, and actually textbooks, most of our textbooks, if you can look those up by the ISBN numbers in the Bookshare system. Another resource, a completely different resource, bookshare.org has books, and I know most of you have probably heard about that, but it really is a good resource to get our books, and Read Out Loud will read those, and they have other free readers if you don't have a reader that come with that resource. And then Learning Ally is another textbook depository that originally was for our visually impaired users, so it had a lot of just audio books, but they're putting even more books that highlight and read as well on that site. And they have free apps for that, for iPods and Androids and all those things. And kids just log into the websites and pick up the books the teachers have assigned them. So that's another way that we can give that to our kids so that they can, participate weekly using different things. There's a link in the PowerPoint that has an implementation guide for text-to-speech from cast.org, which has been around for a while. They do a lot with learning disabilities, and they've been around for quite some time. So there is a guide for that I've linked in the PowerPoint for everyone, so that you can get more information about maybe some ideas about how you can get your district going with more of this. Because this is, your dyslexia teachers, your 504 people, whoever they might be, your gen ed teachers, all will be interested in giving kids who can't read in their classes ways of reading for them, whether it be tests or textbooks or anything, because all of our teachers have not enough staff to help every single child. I've seen it. My own boy, who's 6 years old, is already showing signs of dyslexia. Okay? He has some issues in that area, and he uses online books all the time to read, and he loves it. And he does pick up some sight word from that, and I don't think he's going to have a problem in the future, but he still gets to read books, and we don't have to stop them and keep them from doing that. And when it comes, he's only in first grade, but when you get into third and fourth and fifth grade, if he's behind a little bit, you can miss a lot of content. And right now I'll tell you he's got 100 in every class except reading. So that's a huge thing for a child who's obviously bright, but the reading is just not clicked quite yet. Or transverses letters like he does, or numbers. It's really a huge deal. I mean, we did talk about the problems with technology. Text readers aren't perfect. They're going to make mistakes. But if you can't read, and then something will read 95% of the words to you in a voice you can understand, it's, that's a huge difference. No reading to being able to read independently. And obviously that's these are things we've talked about the whole time, but with using all of this technology, and make sure I'm going to try to finish up my part so that y'all can ask questions for the last, 4 minutes, but you're going to have to figure out who is needing to use this kind of technology and who's going to help you implement it. Find a geek in your department. There's always one. That's how I started. Set the realistic expectation for the student to use the technology. If you want this child to use word prediction, or you think he might have to use some technology on a test 2 years from now, don't start next year. Start him now. If you think he might succeed or even perform much better this year, a few months from now on the test, start him now. Get it going. There's nothing that says you can't start using the technology with the child before you have a meeting. Now, before he tests, you need to have it in his meeting, but there's nothing that says you can't try technology with a child. Almost every kind of assistive technology is on a trial period. And then use all your other services. If the child has occupational therapy, they can work on writing with them. If a child has speech therapy, they can be working on reading while he's in speech therapy, or using a text-to-speech book to work with the child, a lot of different things. Karen, let me take the last few questions before we run out of time.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. All right. I've got a couple more. Okay, how about an electronic answer document? Would that make too much sense? That was from earlier, like right after the poll.
Electronic, just as far as to give answers for the kids?
I think so. I think when you were talking about copying, pasting versus transcribing, I think that was
that's
right
not as, I mean, yeah, of course that would be brilliant, but right now, as far as I know, that's not happening. Now, when we're fully online next year, maybe that will be the case. Okay. I just don't know how they're going to do that. Okay.
And then we also have, if a student uses the spelling assistance accommodation, can an adult transcribe for the student automatically, or does the student also need to qualify for the basic transcription accommodation?
No. If they're using spelling assistance, then you can transcribe. There's no big deal. Transcribing, the other transcribing is for the student to dictate specifically to you. And for our lady who mentioned the stuttering child, that might possibly be her solution. She might have to do the transcription option because he can't write that well manually or with word prediction, and voice recognition is obviously not going to work that well right now. But you're going to transcribe if you use voice recognition or word prediction. You'll have to transcribe what they write to the paper. But you don't have to have transcription. Transcription is for kids who have to dictate to you. And that's very specific, so make sure if you're the one doing that you read up on how they have to do it.
Okay, great. That's all we've got for questions.
Okay.
Unless anybody else has any last-minute questions for Darren. I don't see it. Oh, we have a thank you. People are very appreciative, Darren, of your expertise and you taking your time to share. I'm really appreciative of that, too.
The last page of the PowerPoint, everyone, my website.
Okay, great. And then maybe we can add the PAR link that Denise DeCoste and Linda developed that, and also that EA link.
Yes, ma'am.
We could put those two on there, and then they'll have everything all in one place. That would be nice.
Perfect.
And then for the people that view the webinar afterwards, then they'll have that as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so you guys will receive this follow-up recording and also the PDF of the slides. It will also go up on our website, so please share it out with your colleagues. And you know, it's really good information, so we'd like a lot of people to have the benefit of that. Darren, thank you so much, and all the attendees, thank you so much for sticking with us and participating. Darren, Linda Titus says hello, and tell Mark that they say hello. And people
Hi,
say
Linda.
thank you. Very informative. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So a lot of people are pretty happy with the information that you shared, Darren. So thank you for
If
that.
y'all have other questions, just contact me outside of this. No problem.
Yes, and also just contact me if kbess@donjohnston.com if you have any other webinar topics that you're interested in hearing about. I'd love to know that. We're going to start putting together all of our spring webinars pretty soon, so we'd love to know that, and also encourage you to visit our website. We have lots of resources there and lots of good information. We want to kind of be your biggest cheerleaders and your helpers, and you know, make sure these kids start reading and writing and really make some progress. So Darren, do you have any other parting comments or anything else to say?
I don't think so. Thank y'all, everybody, for trying to help our kids.
Thank you very much. Take care, you guys. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.